You're watching Narrify.
People say life-changing moments arrive with fanfare. Big reveals, loud shocks, dramatic timing, but mine arrived in a quiet white envelope I found on a rainy Thursday after work, addressed neatly to Noah Grant from Hendricks & Cole, my late Uncle Richard's lawyers, and the moment I opened it my entire world shifted. I had inherited $8.4 million, a number so large it barely felt real, and while I sat in disbelief, my wife, Sienna, reacted with a hunger I didn't recognize. Crying, laughing, then immediately scrolling through luxury homes and cars as if the fortune had. I remember the hollow click in my chest the moment I heard her voice on that phone. The words were simple, clinical, like a grocery list made to end a life. He's getting weaker. I think it's working. I backed away from the hallway like the floor had become lava. My hands shook so badly I had to grip the doorframe to steady myself. For a second I didn't know whether to run or to call someone. My brain supplied both instincts at once, fight and flight, but neither felt right. Instead, I crept back into the dining room as if I could be small enough to be invisible. Sienna looked up when I entered, and in that second her face changed the way a mask slips off. She wasn't startled. She wasn't guilty. She looked annoyed, like I'd interrupted a task. She smiled, casual, normal, and offered to bring me tea while I sat there tasting metal at the back of my throat. Only then did every odd moment click into place. Her sudden interest in cooking, the wine she watched me sip, her pushes for risky hobbies, the quiet suggestions that I get away more often. Things I once interpreted as affection now formed a map of control. That night, sleep was impossible. I tore through cabinets, drawers, corners of the house, searching for anything that explained the growing dread. Nothing obvious appeared, yet the air itself felt poisoned. By morning I had made a decision. Call Jordan. He answered immediately, steady and serious, and told me not to confront her. Preserve everything. Document everything. Within hours he had a private investigator, Marcus, at my door. Marcus wasn't dramatic. He was blunt, methodical, and unervingly calm. He installed discreet cameras, tracked Sienna's purchases, and sent me to a doctor, where blood work revealed elevated liver enzymes and traces of a foreign substance. Enough to harm me slowly. Enough to confirm someone had been dosing me. Jordan's voice tightened when he heard the results. We move carefully. She cannot know you suspect. Meanwhile, Marcus's investigation deepened. Unusual medication purchases, meetings with a health consultant, late-night rendezvous with her coworker Daniel, strange withdrawals, a suspicious order of syringes shipped to our home. Then came the messages, coded, chilling phrases like, make it quiet, close the book, and double dose if needed. Every revelation made my lungs feel smaller. Jordan filed for emergency protections. I stayed with a friend, sleeping like a hunted animal. Police were hesitant at first. These cases can get messy, but evidence is louder than emotion. Blood work, recordings, Marcus's findings. They couldn't ignore it. Detective Ramirez took the case personally. Surveillance began. And then came the video that shattered everything. A clip Marcus captured of Sienna humming in the kitchen, pouring wine, then adding liquid from a vial, smiling as she whispered into her phone. One down, soon to go. I felt my stomach collapse inward. That night, Ramirez secured a warrant. The search was quiet but devastating. Officers found the vial with residue matching my blood results, unprescribed sedatives under her name, and, most disturbing, a hidden notebook filled with chilling lines like, make it painless, not here, paper trail minimal. Sienna was arrested without a fight. She didn't scream or deny. She simply looked at me, hollow-eyed, and mouthed, I'm sorry. Jordan didn't shield me from the sight. He let the moment etch itself into me, the moment everything I believed about love died. The criminal case unfolded fast. Attempted poisoning, conspiracy, illegal procurement. Daniel was arrested days later, his bravado fading when confronted with messages and bank trails. Jordan and Marcus worked relentlessly with prosecutors, tying together texts, purchases, surveillance, financial movements, and witness testimony. The picture became undeniable. This was planned, deliberate, slow, intentional harm. In court, the prosecutor laid out motive and method with chilling clarity. The defense painted Sienna as overwhelmed and afraid, but the evidence spoke louder. The vial, the messages, the meetings, the money, the notebook. Judges don't rule on emotion, they rule on proof. And proof was everywhere. When the hearing ended, Sienna's fate seemed sealed. But the aftermath, the quiet days when the news cycled on, the house sat still, and the life I'd known fractured, was a different type of trial. I learned that evidence must be held gently like shattered glass. I learned that betrayal is not a single moment but a pattern. I learned how easily love can warp into something unrecognizable. And slowly, painfully, I learned that rebuilding begins before justice is served, long before the court separates lie from truth. The morning the trial began felt like the breath before a plunge. I woke with my throat tight, packed a small bag with items that felt sensible. Notes, a book to read if the waiting grew unbearable, and met proceeds once everything was done. Silence took over the courtroom like a held breath. The defense tried to soften her image, leaning on character witnesses and emotional pleas, but evidence is its own language. The doctor testified about the poison traces. Marcus walked through the purchases and suspicious transactions. Ramirez detailed the vial, the notebook, the disturbing coded messages. And then the footage played, the clip of Sienna pouring poison into wine as casually as watering a plant. In that moment, the jury didn't see confusion or stress. They saw intent. They saw choice. The defense tried to poke holes, to twist context, to blame Daniel, to blame stress, to blame anything except her decisions. But the prosecutor's sequence of facts built a picture too consistent to escape. Witnesses described the dinners with Daniel, the whispered meetings, the money trails. One friend broke down describing how Sienna once joked about making fate look accidental. Daniel collapsed under cross-examination, his earlier confidence dissolving as messages, transfers, and financial records pinned him to the truth. He spoke of schemes, offshore accounts, shell entities, and strategies for when things were settled. It was grotesque, but it was honest. By closing arguments, the jury already looked like people who had reached a conclusion days ago. When they returned, the foreman's voice was steady. Guilty on all counts. Relief wasn't clean. It came mixed with sadness, exhaustion, and a sense that something irreparable had closed. Sienna's head fell forward. Daniel's anger evaporated into fear. The judge recessed the court as people processed how a private nightmare had become public truth. Sentencing came weeks later. The prosecutor asked for substantial time, citing premeditation and greed shaped into violence. The defense begged for mercy, but the judge chose justice. Sienna received a lengthy sentence for attempted poisoning and conspiracy. Daniel received a similarly harsh punishment for fraud and criminal involvement. After that came the quieter waves, the civil rulings, the financial repairs, the clawbacks, the structuring of the inheritance to prevent future exploitation. Jordan protected every piece of the estate with surgical precision. Some funds were lost to Daniel's shell channels, but most were recovered or secured. I rebuilt slowly. The house became quieter but freer. I replaced the mugs Sienna chose for aesthetics with ones I chose for comfort. I painted a room to reclaim space. Evenings became slow, gentle rituals, reading, cooking small meals, relearning how to relax. Friends became lifelines, and the professionals who fought beside me, Jordan, Marcus, Ramirez, became more than names in a case file. Healing was uneven. Rage flared, then grief, then something softer. I visited Uncle Richard's grave and told him I would honor what he left me. I created a scholarship fund in his name, supported victims of domestic manipulation, and worked with advisors who valued stewardship over spectacle. Teaching financial literacy to teens became grounding. Their earnest questions anchored me. I dated again, eventually, cautiously, learning that trust is built with small actions, not declarations. I checked court dockets sometimes, saw Sienna's name, felt neither triumph nor anger, just distance. I wished her accountability, not suffering. My life had moved forward, even if echoes remained. Now a framed copy of Uncle Richard's letter sits on my desk, not as a trophy, but as a reminder of responsibility, resilience, and everything nearly lost. Sometimes I touch the frame and remember the nights filled with fear, the courtroom lights, the voices that saved me. Then I look outside at the simple things. A kid learning to ride a bike, the neighbor's cat stretching in sunlight, the mail carrier waving. Life insists on continuing. And I choose to meet it, slowly, carefully, rebuilding something honest, one deliberate choice at a time.